Morning everybody. Today's topic is surgical management of odontogenic tumors. In this topic, mainly we are concentrating about the surgical management of the tumors. What are the treatment protocols we'll do it. Sometimes we go for inoculation, mass superficialization. There are, if you're going for the inoculation and mass superficialization, on the meantime also there will be anatomical relationships are there. The size of the lesion will be large, so we want to preserve all the vital structures will be there. So we will manage all these things, then only we can do it. And also in the meantime we have a follow-up is very important for this type of patients, otherwise there will be a chance of recurrence will be more. That's the main thing in this topic. So you already know about the what you mean by what you mean by tumors. Tumors are the neoplasm or new growth of the abnormal tissue in the body. So there are two types, the benign or malignant. Benign tumors, it's a slow growth, encapsulated peripheral expansions, pushes away the adjacent structures, and there will be no metastasis. And maybe it's locally aggressive. Mostly benign tumors are very, it is not have a aggressive property. It's a slow growing mass, and it will never uh, uh, damage the adjacent structures. But if you go into malignant tumors, there will be rapidly infiltrate surrounding tissue, including the all the vital sections. That means there will be structures like the arteriovenous plexus or adjacent tissue damage will be there, and endangers the life of its host. And excess metastasis in the distant parts of the body, usually through the lymph nodes and the bloodstream. So mostly it's metastasis through transmit to the lymph nodes and the bloodstream. So there are two types. There are odontogenic and non-odontogenic tumors. So what do you mean by odontogenic tumors? It's the growth of new lesions, group of lesions arising from the tooth producing the apparatus or its remnants. So maybe originated from the epithelial or ectomeseal odontogenic tissue. So what are the principles for the management of these type of tumors? First, you take a proper history. History is the very important part. If you take the history first, you go for the duration of the lesion, that's the mode of onset and the progress, how it will progress, how long it starts, everything, and check out the exact size and shape of the lesions, and if there will be change in the character of the lesions, and associated symptoms like pain, paresthesia, anesthesia, nasal obstruction, tenderness, trismus, lymphadenopathy. These are the common symptoms that patient will tell, and there will be loss of body weight, check it out, and the patient having maybe chance of recurrence after the surgery, means the patient already done surgery before, and after that longer duration they again the recurrence chance. And ask the patient's habit, that is the most important part. On clinical examination, if you're going to examine the patient first, what are the things you check? First, you check the number. It's a single or a multiple lesion or not, and check out the site and the anatomical locations. That's very important. If the lesion may arise from any of the tissue within the oral cavity, including the epithelium, subcutaneous, or mucosal connective tissue, muscle, tendon, nerve, bone, blood vessels, and salivary glands. These are the areas. So check out the anatomical locations of the lesion. Next one, the size and shape of the lesions. That's a very important part. And check out the surface of the lesion also is very much be smooth, lobulated, irregular, or ulcerated type. And if you go for the color of the lesion, may be bluish mass, branches on pressure may indicate like a hemangioma, like that. And also the consistency is a soft time, it might be a lipoma, fibroma, heart pleoformic adenoma, or bone heart tissue like osteoma, like that. And check out the presence of the fluctuation is also important. If it's a on palpation, it is a fluid within the mass, then we can identify its what is the content of the tumors. So the pulsation, palpation of the mass may be revealed the pulsatical quality, which indicates the large vascular contents. That is another important one. Uh, Next one is this, is if there will be single or a multiple lesion or no. It's important diagnostic sign when the multiple areas of the ulceration are found within the mouth, then may eliminate the carcinoma in the mouth. So it's while vesicle bullous lesions commonly present such as a clinical picture. And also, if you go for the lymph node examination, the first five categories of the nodes should be recorded. One is the location, size, there is a tenderness, painful versus or non-painful, degree of the fixation, consistency. These are the main things we'll notice on the, and also you'll go check out the skin or the swelling. If there will be temperature will be there, no, you can fade it out. These already I mentioned. These are the most common things we find it on inspection and palpation of the lesion. So next one is going for the radiography examination. So what are the radiographs? We will take it out now. First you go for the plain radiographs like indicate the intra-bony lesions. So normally we take it for the OPG. Then next over the CT for indicate for the intra-bony lesions. If you're going for the CT, sometimes we go for a 3D CT, then we can get a three-dimensional view. And also next going for the MRI with the same thing with the soft tissue extension lymphadenopathy, this is going for a MRI. And we go for anatomic studies, and sometimes if the tumor is involving with the vascular lesion, no, then you'll go for the angiography studies for the vascular tumors. And the ultrasound will take scintigraphy, cellography. These are the most of the radiographs will doing for the patients. You can see in the radiograph if the tumor is involved. It is not a well-defined tumor. It's already ill-defined tumor and involving with the impacted tooth itself. There will be no margin, nothing. So this type of a tumor is aggressive type you saw seen in the body of the mandible. You can see get a three-dimensional view where the tumors involving in what are the structures that involve. Everything we can identify with the CT scan. Going for MRI, we can see the body mass surrounding structure. So the laboratory investigations mainly by biopsy and histopathology. First one is the exophthalmitis cytology. We will take aspiration biopsy. What are the contents of the tumor? Fine needle aspiration cytology, FNAC, excisional biopsy, incisional biopsy. These are the main things we will do it in the patients. So mostly the biopsy, what we'll know is the proper and the correct diagnosis and determination of the degree of the malignancy and the determination of the prognosis. That's a very important part. So normally it indicates the what will tell what type of a cystic lesion or a tumor lesion is there. That only we go for the biopsy. Normally, this thing or a largest tumor, no, will go for a biopsy. If the fluid is contamination, then go for the aspiration biopsy. Next one is the principles of management. In this thing, mainly we are looking if first you see the tumor, what are the things you will see? You know, first you complete eradication of the complete removal of the lesion and preservation of the normal tissue as much we can do it. Then excision of with the least morbidity and restoration of the tissue loss, form, and the function, and long-term follow-up of the recurrence. These are the main things we are looking for the patient. Means the anatomy location of the this thing is very important. Means the location of the lesion, the oral or peripheral areas may complicate the choice of the treatment. So it's a non-aggressive benign lesion is inaccessibly uh, make a surgical problem, but which more aggressive lesion accessible for the resectable area, that's more better prognosis. Compared to the maxilla and mandible, the tumors in the mandible are confined largely and due to the thick of cortical plates. But in maxilla, tumors in the enlarged the sinus, orbit, skull, base, and the nasopharynx. So there will be a chance of poor prognosis will be there. And adjacent vital structures make that means the benign lesion may cause damage to the neurovascular structures and the teeth, and neurological defect and vascular compromise can occur. So the tumors can also associate with the root resorption, everything can occur. So according to the gold according maps know how what they told know what are the protocols we could do it in the uh, if there are tumors. First go for the enucleation, normal enucleation of the cyst, then curettage, then mastoplasiation and recontouring. Then we go for the resection with or without continuity defect and diarticulation. So normally this is a small tumors like that when we go for the inoculation of this cyst. That might be no any major problem. That going for a larger tumors, there will be chance we want to shrink that tumor. That's why we go for a mastoblastration after going for an inoculation. So the main reconstructive effort and the goal of an surgical procedure is the removal of the tumor as well as the restoration of function. So reconstruction could be get the certain surgical techniques than another since it's more optimal for facilitating the future reconstructive procedures. So mostly the inoculation we can do without curettage. Resection also there will be a lot of types of the resection, marginal resection, segmental resection, total resection, composite resections. So mostly that indication for the inoculation is the accessible tumors, small to moderate size of tumors that do not endanger the vital structures. Tumors do not involve the soft tissue. Curettage and cauterization means chemical or electrical cauterization is necessary to avoid the recurrence if there is a small lesion. Advantage is all tumors must undergo a pathological examination to remove the entire pathological tissue. These are the main things. So already we don't know inoculation without no mainly used for the cystic lesion, small non-aggressive, non-tentacular expansion to rapid infiltration to the surrounding tissue, and the distance separation, cortical margins between the lesion and the surrounding bone. Mostly the cases will go in amelocytic fibroma, ossific fibroma, cherubism, hemangioma, eosinophilic granuloma, central gel cell granuloma. So the restriction without continuity defect for a benign lesion with the possibility for their recurrence, also known as the end block resection, marginal mandibulotomy or marginal resection. So the inferior border of the mandible can be spread, means it acts as a supporting bone and also your as a reconstructive bone also. With the continuity defect, another for extension inferior border of the mandible is included, so also known as segmental resection of the mandible. You can see in this picture what is meant by end block recession of mandible. End block means the excision of lesion from the superficial area of the mandible, so creating a end block. The inferior part of the mandible will be spread, so it support as a mandible and also as a used as a like a recon plate. It's not a plate, but we can support as the mandible. If you're going for cut out the entire segmental of mandible, so there will be no supporting to the both sides. You can see in the first radius it's local end block resection of the if you cut from the superficial area of the mandible. But in the second picture, you can see continuity of the defect. There will be no continuity between the two sides. So in the second picture, normally is reconstruct with the recon plates. You can see that segment section of the mandible from the body of the mandible that take it out. Next is the hemimandibulectomy. Hemimandibulectomy means the resection of the mandible from the midline involving the body and the ramus of the one side, involving the condyle without the articulation. So sometimes you will normally take it out from the coordinate part. Sometimes we take it out from the condyle also. Depends upon the defect. We can say the list is the incision called a lip split technique. They split from the lips and go for the posterior and entire segmental resection of the lesion take it out. That means hemimandibulectomy they done. That much structure we take it out from the mandible. The same thing, hemimandibulectomy. In the first piece, they are showing they are cut it out from the cornoid. They are spread with the condyle, but they are done with the hemimandibulectomy. You can see the entire mandible is figured out in the diagram. In maxillectomy, it's doing in the maxilla. It's normally the incision is called a Weber-Ferguson incision. So the tumor is confined to the posterior aspect of the maxilla sinus and can be managed with the conservative resection. That spreads the premaxilla. So the tumor is extending up to the roof of the maxilla. Orbital floor should be included with the resection. Tumors invading the roof of the maxilla sinus orbit, tumor sinus and orbital resection mandatory. So there are a lot of techniques we use and depends upon the severity of the lesion. If this lesion is small, called go for a heavy mandibulectomy, but that depends upon the lesion. If the lesion is involved up to the orbit, will take it out the and orbit also will take it out. Impacted tooth in impacted canine, so we go for the excision inoculation of the suppose if you are going for the lesion is aggressive, so what will take it out the complete removal of the same with the hemimandibulectomy. After that, there will be defect will be the defect we can close with using with the obturator. This patient having the lesion extends up to the orbital floor there, so the entire maxillectomy with the orbital floor we take it out, we'll take it out and we can reconstruct with the prosthetic rehabilitation. You can see that hemimaxillectomy done. This is the lesion that extends up to the orbital floor, means from the maxilla to the orbital floor. So the hemimaxillectomy up to the floor. After the surgery means mandibulectomy done, maxillectomy done. Next is go for the reconstruction. That is very important part. So the reconstruction means the main objective means achieve the primary healing, obtain oral competence, facilitate the swallowing, prevent aspiration, preserve speech, restore continuity, bone height, and bone bulk of jaw. These are the main objectives. So the reconstruction movements of the movements and equilibrium of the mandible for the maintenance of normal proximal floor of the mouth and tongue anatomical position for restore the his normal feeding, speech, everything, aesthetic function, uh, social existence is also very important. So immediate reconstruction, this is a single stage study early return to the function, minimal compromise to aesthetics. Reconstruction of plate defect, bridging plate bone grafts, iliac grafts, or postfrontal graft fibula. These are the main grafts we are taking for the reconstruction of the maxilla. Disadvantage is a recurrence in the grafted bone, loss of graft, and hardware due to infection. Mostly the reconstruction of the graft, when if there will be no recurrence, then only we'll take for the graft. Otherwise, there will be high chance of the recurrence on the grafted bone. So delayed reconstruction means 6 months waiting period observed for the recurrence, muscular deformation, and the displacement of this segment should be avoided. Maintain residual medullary fragments in normal anatomical relationship with the IMF or reconstruction place, that is called recon plate. This is the recon plate used for the maxilla or mandible. This is the resection of the mandible with the continuity defect. So recon plate is one side is fixed to the condylar part and another side for the symphysis region. The graft placing on the hemimandibulectomy using might be a costochondral graft or iliac graft like that. This is the graft normally used for the implant procedures. There are a lot of techniques you can use to reconstruct the mandible. Normally, iliac, costochondral graft, fibula, all these things. If you're going for implant, then definitely we need a bone. So we go for a iliac graft or costochondral graft. Other beyond the diagnosis of the patient having a lesion on the right side of the roof, the patient symphysis and parasymphysis impact, big tumor. So using with the graft, maybe a costochondral or iliac. The patient having the tumor on the left side of the maxilla, so hemimaxillectomy, and there will be defect will be there when using with the obturator. Next is the ameloblastoma. That is the most important part. If what you mean by ameloblastoma, it's a true neoplasm of odontogenic epithelial origin, which does not undergo differentiation to the point of enamel formation. That's the definition. So Akunse Robinson ameloblastoma tumor that is usually unicentric and non-functional, intermittent in growth, anatomically benign, and clinically present. So the clinical features is mainly seen on 33 to 39 years of age, non-sex prediction and risk prediction. Site of occurrence may seen on the mandible, molar, ankle, ramus of area, maxillary on the anterior maxillary or molar region, maxillary sinus, and nasal cavity. These are the sites we can see. So usually it's a slow growing and asymptomatic, most common presentation swelling and facial asymmetry, slow growth, reactive bone formation, growth, enlargement and distortion will be the later stage. There will be thinning of the bone and it's called eggshell cracking. If it is untreated, perforate the bone and spread the soft tissue and excision may be difficult. Nowadays it is 4.3 centimeter for 4.3 centimeter. Pain will be there and non-usual symptom. The other symptoms are showing is a displacement and mobility of the resorption will be of the tooth. Paresthesia and ocular alteration will be the failure of the eruption. Going for the radiographic features, it's a multilocal cyst with a radiolucent area with the well-defined margins. So it's a pattern called honeycomb or soap opera. I already studied in the oral path. And if a few radiolucent areas with the small daughter cyst will be there, and the bone margins typically scallop. May be associated with the impacted tooth or roots of the adjacent tooth. Resorption or displacement will be there. and may be perforated with a periosteum with a rarely perforated. You can see on the 3D CT or OPG, we can see there will be scalloped margins, and there will be multilocular lesion seen on the mandible. So histophysical features you always studied use of follicular and proximal types, and subtypes are called like canthus, basal cell, gland cell, desmoplastic, mural, peripheral, and macular subtypes. So what's the treatment for the ameloblastoma? So there are two types. One is the conservative, one is the surgical management. Conservative management is a curative and cryosurgery. If it depends upon the ameloblastoma, if the age wise also is very important. If the patient age wise is below 20, like that, we go for a conservative management because the growth pattern is very important, and so we can preserve the mandible also. If the lesion that we can go for a marsupialization, nucleation of this, and using with chemical cauterization, carnal solution we can apply, and we can regenerate with the bismuth iodoform paste. So regeneration of the bone, then we can reduce the mass of the lesion. If it's not possible, then only we'll go for the surgical management. That is called a margin mandibulectomy or segment resection or hemimandibulectomy. But depends of the lesion. If the lesion is very small, then you go for the marginal mandibulectomy. If the lesion is more, it inverts up to the lower border of the mandible, then you go for the segmental resection. If the lesion is moving towards the posterior part of the mandible, then you go for the hemimandibulectomy. The same thing you go for the maxilla also. Sometimes go for a uh, hemimaxillectomy also will do. Depends upon the severity of the lesion. Is the topic regarding surgical management of the tumors. So mainly you must read about the normal things for if a tumor came out, what are the things you'll roll it out, and what are the radicals you'll take it out, or how can we manage, what are the types of procedures we can do in the maxilla and mandible. This is the main content in this topic. Thank you.